guys, this time in the shop, we're going to do a transmission swap, Autostick to manual on this 75 model. But first, check out this intro. Okay guys, continuing on Art's 75 project. This one we're going to swap the transmission. But before we do that, I kind of want to emphasize something real quick. When you're doing this, if you've got one of these Autosticks and you're thinking about doing a swap, I can't emphasize this enough. You want to make sure, just for the purpose of this being a lot easier, you want to make sure that you got this tube installed in the tunnel for your clutch cable. And the reason I say that is this: if that clutch cable tube is not there, you have to fish the clutch cable down the tunnel, and that is it's I'll just say it's a pain in the butt. I've did one before, and it took me about 15 tries before I could get that clutch cable, down the tunnel without the use of the tube. So it's very important in my mind. As a matter of fact, I don't know that I would do another one without it. But take a look at that on your Autostick. Just open this, take off this panel here. Where is that? This is the panel that will be on there. Just take out this Phillips head screw here, take the panel off and check it. This is your accelerator cable tube and then your clutch cable tube here. But if that's there, this is going to be a lot easier for you to make that swap. With that said, let's go ahead and get started on this one, and we'll start here with this shift coupler. And basically we're just going to take this wire out with some needle nose, and then you got this grub screw here. You'll take that out. That's an 8 millimeter. And then once you get that grub screw out, what I usually do is just reach up here, grab a hold of the shifter, and pull it backwards, and it usually pops right off. Just like that. There we go. And then the coupler itself actually has to come off completely, because we're going to take this the shifter rod and pull it out of the car. The length on the shifter rod is different on an Autostick versus a manual, so we're going to swap that out too. And that coupler will come off that rod with your 8 millimeter on the side there, and then you got to hold the opposite side. Okay, what I did here is I just took a pair of vice grips on one side to hold that, and then we'll use our 8 millimeter to take that bolt out of the center of the coupler. Okay, there's the screw out of the center of the coupler. And just pull out this other side. Alright, so there's the coupler off. It's the bolt that goes through it that receives this screw here. And you got a couple of bushings, one on either side. I'll drop one of them in there. Okay, once you got the coupler off, if you look down in there, you can see there's a spring that's got to be disconnected, and then this collar here on the shifter rod has got to come off too, and that's a bolt going through there to hold that. So we'll take out the spring, then the bolt, and take that collar off of there. Because if you don't, if you leave that collar on there, then it's not going to slide out through the front of the car. So we'll do that next. So this bolt through that collar on the shifter rod, it's got a 13 millimeter nut on it. Just hold one side with a vice grip and then take the nut off of this side. Alright, there's that collar and the bolt and the nut that went through it. Okay guys, now we can move out here to the back of the car and start removing the transmission. As you can see, I've already got the engine out, and if you want to see how that's done, just take a look at my previous video. The Autostick engine is a little different than a manual transmission engine. So take a look at that to see how to pull the engine out. As you can see, I went ahead and took off all the canisters. There's a canister mounted here under each fender, one on either side, and that's what they look like there. And they're basically just held on with the same bolts as the bumper brackets. So if you take those out, those canisters will come off. And there'll be a few lines to disconnect. As a matter of fact, here's one of them. This is a banjo bolt connection, and that was a line that ran over to the canister under the fender. And for the transmission to come out, first of all, you've got a ground strap here. That's a 13 millimeter. And then on the other side, you'll want to disconnect your starter. Again, that's a 13. And then underneath in the front, you got a couple of nuts there to detach the transmission mount. Those are 19 millimeter. And then in the back, the two big bolts on the tranny bracket, those are 20 millimeters on this model. And then finally, the CV joints. And the CV joints, you're going to use what's called these are an 8 millimeter, either some people call them a double hex or a triple square, but it's made for the bolts in the CV joints. And these are all 3/8 drive. And then on your torque converter, you can leave that in if you've got some way of securing it to hold that in place. You can do that, or you can go ahead and take that out. But keep in mind, it's got a decent amount of transmission fluid in it. And so when you come out with it, you kind of want to lay it back because it spills out the other side. So let's go ahead and get started on pulling the tranny out. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the CV joints. And for this particular project, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the entire CV joint. Typically, if you're just swapping out the tranny, you would just do this in, but I got some new ones built up, so we're gonna put those on. Now, before you get started, just know that these CV joint bolts, this is a good place for, dirt and grease to accumulate, so the heads of them kind of fill up. So what I'll do is I'll just take a small screwdriver like this, kind of dig it out if there's a lot in there. Dig it out, maybe even use some compressed air to blow it out. And then, even once I've gotten it cleaned out, I still like to take the socket here, and kind of, once I get in there, give it a little tap and make sure it's in there, as deep as it'll go, because If you don't, you'll either strip the tool or the bolt head, and then you end up having to take that out with a pair of vice grips or something. So just clean that out. And what I also do is I'll rotate each bolt here to the top, and because it's just easier to get to with the boot there in the way. If you go to the top versus trying to do it down here at the bottom, it's easier access. And then what I'll do out here on the wheel, just to give myself some leverage to break it loose, go ahead and put one lug nut in here, and then get yourself a breaker bar, just like so. That'll give you some leverage to break each one of those loose. And then once you got them all broke loose, and you can just grab a battery powered ratchet and zip all of them out. So this is a little battery powered ratchet, 3/8 drive, something I picked up off of Amazon. And for something like this comes in real handy if you're trying to, if you're out in a junkyard trying to pull a transmission. Makes quick work of the CV joints. And I also noticed a couple of the bolts had a different kind of bolt head, just a regular 6-sided hex, so a little different than this other one I was using. So just keep that in mind. You might have two different types of bolts in those joints. Somebody had said at one time that they thought that the CV joints in an Autostick were a different length than the manual, but I don't see that they are. I don't think they are. They look the same length to me, so we're gonna go with it. Okay, once you get these two large bolts out of the transmission cradle, you can don't worry about it falling or anything, because what's going to happen is the CV flanges here are going to rest on the frame forks, so it's not going to fall. But it is ready to come out, so we'll go ahead and lower the car down, and then use a floor jack to take the tranny out.
Shazam.
All right, now that I got the transmission out, I just wanted to point something out to you in the event you want to go this route. This style of transmission cradle and mount started in '73. So the ones prior to that are just a little bit different. And since my customer, he's already bought the polyurethane style mounts for the earlier style cradle, we're going to go ahead and go with that. And as you can see here, I've already got it kind of mocked up on the car. just to verify that, you know, it's the same size and everything as far as the frame forks. So it is the same width. The only difference is the bolts are a little different. This is the one that came out, but the thread size and the thread pitch is the same on these here. So this earlier Cradle will bolt right up to a late model pan. And then also, while we're up under here with the transmission out, there's a couple of plugs that came off of either side of the transmission. You got this one and then this one here. So there's no longer any need for those, but they're tied in to this wire loom, along with some stuff that you still need. Like you still need this red one for the starter. You still need this one for the starter, and then also some things that go back to your engine bay for your tail lights and your dome light, your backup lights, and so on. So what you got to do basically is just kind of cut this open and separate the wires, you know, get rid of what you don't need, and then keep the ones that you do. And you can also, while you're in here, go ahead and it's a good time to look at your brake line and brake hoses. Actually, the lines on this one look pretty bad. The T-fittings, this one, yeah, right there. The T-fittings look like they could be maybe cleaned up or replaced. And then, of course, the hoses are all bad on this car. So I'll probably address that while I'm under here. And then back to the transmission. Like I said, if you get that tube in there, it should be plugged off. So you want to go ahead and unplug that. It's right there. And you can see it's got the little shoulder there to slide on your Bowden tube for the clutch cable. So just unplug that. And I think now we're at a point where we're ready to move to the inside of the car and pull out the clutch pedal, or not the clutch pedal, but the pedal assembly and the shifter. Okay, here we are on the inside, and as you can notice, I've got both the seats out. I would recommend at least taking out the driver's side. It just makes doing this a whole lot easier. But two things in here, we're going to take out the shifter, and it's got two 13mm bolts, and it's also got a wire. That's the sensor wire in the knob for when to change gears, and it goes back here to the back. And we'll just right here, we'll just disconnect that, and it's tied into those two plugs I showed you that you no longer need on the transmission. And then lastly is the pedal assembly, and that's got two 17mm bolts going that way. Just pull those out and disconnect your accelerator cable from the pedal, and then disconnect the push rod for the brake master cylinder. Okay, accelerator cable first. It just pulls right out, just like that. There that is. And then on this, on the bolts, again, you got two 17mm. This has got some old brake lines that aren't being used, but they left them in the car. So I'll take those out. the one in the back, and the other one. Now for this brake push rod, I want to see if I can get you a little closer on that one. Okay, on this, you've got two things. You've got a clip right here. You got a clip and a spring. The clip holds the spring on, and the spring holds the push rod on. And for this clip here, just take a screwdriver and just pull it off like that. And then with a flat tip screwdriver or maybe some needle nose, if you push that back, disconnect the spring from the side of the pedal there. Sometimes they're stuck. All right, I've got the pedal leaning all the way forward. Take a little resistance off of that spring. And once I get it up high enough, get a smaller screwdriver, get behind it. Like that, and just push it off. There. Now our push rod will come off. Just like that. Go ahead and take that out. And then our assembly, let me back up a little. That, and that's a good place for a lot of dirt and debris to accumulate, so we'll vacuum that out. Let me reach in there real quick just to double check that clutch cable tube, and yeah, it's right there, so we're good. Nice. Okay guys, now for the fun part, shifter rod extraction. So to get the shifter rod out, we got three panels we gotta remove or take off. And the first one is down here on the apron. Then inside this spare tire trough, this one. And then underneath, let me raise the car up. And then underneath, between your two axle beams, you got this plate here, and that's held on with two 10mm bolts. So we'll go ahead and start with that. And then for these two in here, real easy. This one just got a single Phillips head screw in it. Then the one in front down here, that's an 8mm nut. Okay, with those three panels off, now we can take the shifter rod out. And what I like to do, just to kind of help me, bring the rod out of the tunnel, I got a piece of string with a loop on either end of it. And then I have this piece of wire, also with the hook on the end. And what I'll do is I'll feed this down through the hole where we took off the shifter, and then I'll hook this piece of string to it on the other end and kind of just fish that through the tunnel. Then I'll hook one end on the end of the shifter rod, and that'll just help me kind of maneuver it through the tunnel and out the front of the car. So we'll go ahead and start with this piece of wire. All right, from the rear of the car, I'm gonna just rotate that shifter rod out of the way for a second. And then we'll start with our piece of wire. Like I said, I'm just gonna feed this through the tunnel out the front. And you might have to, make a couple trips to the front of the car and back. Make sure this is coming out where it should. And this is long enough to reach out the front from right here where the shifter went in. Stand by. Okay, so the wire is sticking out the front of the car, so now I can attach my piece of string. And then we'll go to the front and pull this through. And just to make sure I don't pull it too far, I'm going to hook it on this little seat controller knob here. Just like that. That'll tell me when to stop. Okay, so the string's out the front, and then what I'll do here is take this back off. And then I'm going to make another loop in it using the loop that's there, like that. So then what I'll do is I'll just wrap this around the end of the shifter rod, and then tighten it up, and that'll help me to pull it out the front. See, I just dropped it.
That's a shame.
Okay, after dropping the string down there, I just basically went to the front, grabbed the wire, pulled it through, and then started over. Just, it's easier to do it that way than to try to reach under and dig the string out. But now, like I said, we're gonna make that loop like so, and then wrap it around the end. Okay, I've got the string around it, and what I'm going to do is just go to the front and use the string and try to just pull it out. Sometimes these shifter rods, they get a little rusty, especially back here in the back. If you take a look at yours, and it'll create a little problem with going through the bushing. There's a bushing right here inside the tunnel that rod is riding through. And if it gets hung up, I usually just take like some needle nose like this and kind of grab it and rotate and just kind of work it out this way if I get into a tough spot. But we'll try the string first. Okay, I'm just pulling it through the front. It seems to be coming out pretty easy so far. See, now it's hung up. So probably need to, there could be some rust on it that's hitting the bushing. So we'll go up and use the needle nose and just kind of help it along. Okay, the rod itself kind of got turned around and hung up on something. So I just had to rotate it a little bit. And I think we're now at the end here. Let's see, yep, there it is. Okay, there it is. Now we'll just go to the next one. Now it feels like it's hung up on. Oh, there it goes. Okay. We're gonna go through this hole and then out the front. And there she blows. See, it's got a little rust on the end of it there. Sometimes that'll be bad enough that it'll kind of hang up in the bushing. And just real quick, now that I got that out, I want to just show you these two side by side. I got this in side by side. You can clearly see here that this is the Autostick and this is the manual. The manual's about 2 inches longer than the Autostick. Okay, so the last thing we got to do as far as all removal is that bushing inside the tunnel. Okay, like I said, this is while you got that shifter rod out, this is a good time to go ahead and replace your bushing. And in this case, it's already broken. I heard the ring fall off. Where's it at? But the original bushing is in about 5 or 6 pieces, all broken, laying on the bottom of the floor. Okay, I was able to get the bushing out. It was actually already broken into several pieces. And it looks like this is a factory bushing. So imagine, it's been in there since 1975. Now in your car, your bushing might be a little different. And because I can't get the camera down in the tunnel, I'll just use this aftermarket shift rod hanger. This basically was set like that inside the tunnel. But your bushing might be one of these here. It's just a plastic version, aftermarket, with the clip ring on it. And you're basically just gonna reach down in there and do the best you can get it out with, like maybe some needle nose pliers, or if it's like that, then no worries. But again, a good time to change out that bushing, put a new one in. And as a matter of fact, we're going to do something a little different with this one. There's a new bushing on the market, and I think I'm going to use that one to go back together on this car. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and in this video here, we'll just call this part 1. I'll make a part 2, just so that the one video is not so long. But basically, in this first one, we've gotten everything out of the car that's tied to the Autostick. So for the next video, I'll go ahead and do everything to put the manual parts back in the bug. So until then, see you in the next one.